obviously the star, if you like, is Lucky Christelle. How is she?
She's fine, actually in the best form of her life, annoyingly. But I think we will probably end the season on that note. And it's been a disappointing year, but I think it's very difficult when you've got a filly like her, who we know all along that she's been a sprinter. But how could you not try to, your luck in the Guineas, and how could you not have a crack at the coronation? You'd have been kicking yourself for years and years if you hadn't tried.
Have you just been unlucky? I know it's probably the wrong word to use, but obviously she scoped badly once earlier in the season, and as you said, been run over a mile.
And she is a sprinter, really. But I mean, like I said, you have to try your luck, and then the rest of the year is just not been very unlucky, and things just haven't quite fallen our way. But when everything pretty much was a fairy tale last year, so you can't really complain too much. And instead of focusing on how this year hasn't really gone our way, I'm more inclined to get more excited about the fact that she's going to be a hugely competitive sprinter next year for us. Like, we've got a lot to look forward to with her rather than think back on.
How were the owners? Were they on the 20-1? I think the 20-1 once last year. She I think one of the owners was, but she's been such an amazing filly for us last year, and it's just annoying this year. I mean, there was a few races for her, but she would have been carrying £6 worth of penalties, and you can't really do that to a filly because, and it's the same with a lot of people said, oh, why don't we just run her on on Champions Day? Why don't we just run her? Because it would have been our last run of the year. But would you really want to do that to a filly? Because they don't forget. They're a bit like women, aren't they? We won't forget. You annoy us and upset us, especially on heavy ground.
We'll log it in the back there and get our own back later. So I think you just have to it's very frustrating, and I know my dad's been, really sort of...
What happens now, between now and the start of next season? Then?
She'll have a holiday, probably go out in the paddock for a couple of weeks, chill out, eat plenty, get fat, get her back, get her fit again.
So that's basically what happens over the winter months. They eat, get fat, and then basically you put them back into trim. When would that start? Would that be February, March time?
No, earlier than that. She'll probably be back in January trotting. It does take you. The longer you can take to get them fitter, the better it is for the horse. It's like yourself. You wouldn't suddenly get off the couch and go and run 4 miles. You'd start at a mile maybe, and then build it up. So the slower you can get her fitter, the less problems you get. I'm not saying you probably can just get them out of the box and get them going, but you're less inclined to get more injuries if you spread it out a little bit.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of the all-weather horses that you have. Rebellious Guest, Imaginary Diva, Epic Battle. Are you planning to spring them on us this winter?
Rebellious's plan is probably the most thought out and planned horse for the all-weather. He's going to try and do the fast track qualifier in the beginning of November, and then go to, obviously, the Good Friday and the Winter Derby are his main targets. So the fast track qualifier, and then the Winter Derby and the Good Friday, and whatever he's sort of fit and healthy and well for in between then and there. And then the other one is Wolful Sovereign, who obviously did very well on the weather, not last year, the year before. Last year his foot problems came back to haunt him, and he had a bad season, but hopefully, touch wood, he is back feeling really well at the moment, all going well and going the right way, and hopefully he'll be back in sprinting action.
And obviously you ride out every morning, and presumably from your point of view, can you tell when whilst sort of riding that the horse doesn't feel quite right, even just trotting, if you like?
Yeah, they have, when you're sitting on them, they obviously, there's a specific action and how they feel, and you can automatically, usually, racehorses are slightly different from like your average horse as well, where Venter or something like that would always have to be 100%. Racehorses tend to end up with their own individual sort of gait and movement. If some horses trot better than others, so it's quite good when you have a relationship with a horse. Like obviously, Excellent Guest, I ride out religiously until he finishes for the season, and I can have a holiday. So
you take the easy option then. On Excellent Guest, you just know.
I ride him out every morning, and if he even so much as stepped the wrong way, I would know. Where somebody else might not. Yeah. But even if you get on a horse, you've never ridden out, you can tell if they're wrong, and you can ask someone if that's normal for them or not. So you can tell how they feel. and sometimes it's like it's more of a gut feeling. You know, I've been sat on horses before, and sort of, you know, my dad said to me, you know, are they ready? And I've said, well, they're doing everything fine and they're doing what they should be, but I just don't think you should run it. And they go, why? And you say, I don't know. It's just something. It's like I suppose when you work with them, you know, day in, day out, people that ride horses out will know exactly what I mean. They'll be going, yeah, I know that feeling. You know, it's just yeah. And you build up a rapport with them and sort of just get to know them and what they feel like, you know. So
how many horses do you have at the moment?
About 30 in at the moment.
Are you looking for more, or I mean,
always looking for more.
Always looking for more. So anyone watching this, how do they get in contact with them? Syndicates, can they get involved?
Find me on Twitter. Yeah, right. Send me a Twitter message. I'm always putting up our little. You know, we've got Imaginary Diva, Excellent Name, and Storm Runner, and now Wolful Sovereign is actually in the Graham Lodge partnership, and we accept any sort of involvement, and no matter how small or how big, you know, whatever you can afford, if you want to be part of it, we're more than happy to let people join in.
How many horses do you have availability for?
Well, what we do is we put the likes of those horses I've just said and put them all into one package. So you might just have a share in, say, Wolful Sovereign or Storm Runner, but if so you've got a share in Storm Runner and Wolful Sovereign runs, you can go and watch Wolful Sovereign run, even though he's not technically in but we just sort of lump it all in together so that everyone can get more enjoyment out of it.
Right, so you put the Syndicates part of the stable, if you like.
Yeah, so you more sort of join in, and you know, anyone that runs under that ground.
And it's great fun, isn't it? Because you've owned a part owned a horse. I've done the same, and it's just a great day out, and
you meet people.
My one couldn't win a point to point, but it was still a fun day out.
Talk about mine, but no, it's great to be involved. And as Kate said, if you can go racing more often than just when your horse runs, obviously if you own a share in a horse that doesn't run for a few months, you know, but if you're involved in a partnership with multiple horses, even if it's not technically your horse, you know, you can go and enjoy the day.
That's why we did it, because it's more opportunity.
So how do you map out the horses over the winter? I mean, in terms of some of the horses, I mean, we mentioned one, Storm Runner's back to a mark of 62. Do you try and find a race for that first time out, or do you run it a couple of times? Because it's very competitive, and we talked about the nature of all weather. I mean, Lingfield, for me, as a viewer, is much more competitive than any other racecourse, because Lingfield is like one of those tracks where you just can't always tell what's going to happen. It
rides differently, I think. The best person to watch, I find, around Lingfield is Adam Kirby. He is...
There's like a dip before the bend, and he sort of kicks clear, doesn't he?
It's a funny track, actually. When you ride around, because obviously I've ridden around Lingfield, the other tracks are very, and I run around all of them, and the other tracks are very flat, very, you know, very untechnical. You know, everybody can work it out how to ride it best. So you're not really going to lose or gain anything by trying to be clever, because everybody can. But Lingfield rides very differently, and trying to explain to somebody how it can ride so differently, even though it's, you know, an all-weather track, people assume they're all fairly bog standard. But if you go around there, it's a funny shape as well, because you ride round the back bend into the back straight. Obviously it's fairly straightforward round, but then there's a straight actually on the far bend, so you turn into another straight and then turn into the straight. And that back sort of on the last turn, the straight on the last turn races can be won and lost there.